Good morning, everyone. It is March 4th, and you are here for getting started with Google 9 Google Keep session. Um, I am Bond, Virginia Bond, Bond like James, Virginia like the state. And I want to thank all of you for, so many of you sent me nice notes about being, feeling better yesterday. I appreciate that. I appreciate your flexibility with me being able to move yesterday's class till tomorrow. I know some of you won't be able to make it, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew what was going on, and I wanted to keep it in the same week. I thought that might just be easier than trying to move to next week. So I know it's a little bit of a scramble. It's okay. I promise. It'll all be good. But thank you very much for the kind words. It is greatly appreciated. I did make it back in, and we have figured out that it is a kidney stone. Welcome to my world. Yeah, it's okay. I'm a brute. I pass them all the time, so it's good. I'm surrounded by water and fluids, so I'll just keep drinking all day long. So Google Keep. We're going to work our way through this. I got lots of things to close up today. If I was going to pick a tool within Google that was my favorite, I think people would be shocked, but it's Google Keep. So what we're going to learn today is the layout of Google Keep. Some of you may need to know what Google Keep even is, understand ways to add notes and reminders, and then just explore some ways to use it as a teacher, as a student. And I always put this in here as a human, because for most of us, that's going to be the way we start to use it, is like in our personal life. And then we bring it over into our teaching life. And then all of a sudden we start to have the aha moments for our students. And just to let you know that I have a follow-up to this session on the 10th of March at 8:15. And it's called Improving Your Research Skills with Google Keep. So I wanted to keep those two things pretty close together. All right, so if you're like me and every other educator out there, I just reached for my little handy dandy pocket. So this is just a little snippet of the Post-its that I have. I have Post-its in every color. I have Post-its in every size, up to the great big ones, right? I have them in pinks and purples, and because like everything else in my life, I color code stuff. It's a little crazy. I have orange ones for things that are on hold or model schools. That's how insane I am. I know it's a disease. I get it. My husband has OCD, and I tell him all the time that it's worn off on me and my Google Keep obsession. But Google Keep is just Post-its on steroids. It's a way to have Post-its on your desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another tab, and I'm just going to go to keep.google.com. And here we go. And here are my, come on, little baby. Come on, baby, you can load. I know you can. It was slow this morning. This would not be the day for you to crash on me, because I would not be happy. There they go. And here are my Google Keeps. And you'll see that there's all kinds of things like pictures. There's looks like a lot of text, and there's a lot of things in here. And what it makes me always think of is a Pinterest board, right? It's very Pinterest-like. I have the ability to pin things on top. This picture is not magic. I didn't take it from my computer. I actually took it from my phone. I'm going to show how to do that. That's a really cool feature within it, because the cool thing about Google Keep is that it's an app. So it's an app within the Google Waffle. It's an app on my phone, which is the human part of it, using it. That's the part that I love. And it's also an extension. And then all of those pieces are tied into Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Calendar, and your mail. Because if you notice right over here on the right-hand side, you have a little keep icon. So if the world had been perfect and I had yesterday, you would have been very comfortable with the calendar icon. We're going to do it tomorrow on the side. There are two apps that are embedded into multiple other Google apps, and they are Calendar and Keep. So we're going to use that in a little bit. It's kind of awesome when you can see what it'll do. So the layout of Google Keep, it's pretty simple when you kind of combine it with all of the other pieces that are out there. So if we remember back to Classroom, we have our main menu on the left-hand side, which does not have a lot of options like some of the other main menus that we have. I can either turn on my labels or turn them off. That's really all it does. So it's not anything major, and I don't feel like I lose a lot of space. So I always keep my labels pushed out. We'll talk about those in a minute. Your icon, you have a search bar. Excuse me. When you come all the way over to here, you can refresh. Now, why would that even be important? And why would that even be here? It's because if I'm pushing notes from my phone, it will then grab them. It will refresh them. I can change the way I look at them. I can go into list view, and I know you guys have heard me say this many, many times. I am very much about having as much stuff that I can see. So I love the grid view. Some of you would be like, oh, that is way too much. So it's really like kind of push them all in there. But if you teach students with disability, the list view is very, very good. I have installed Google Keep on my husband's Android phone, and this is the view that I give him so he doesn't get confused because he's easily confused. When it comes to, there's too much stuff coming at him, it's too much. So there are reasons to use that. I just personally like a lot of stuff, kind of like, I like my folders all together up on top. I kind of like this the same way. You have a settings wheel here. You have a couple of different options. Probably my favorite is this one, is dark mode. And I'm going to actually take it into dark. Ooh, right? Number one, it's easier on your eyes. And you guys, I'm not sure if you notice, I'll take it out, but my Chrome is actually in dark mode. And it's always in dark mode. And the reason I do that is because for you as an educator, it's a lot easier for you to track where I'm going, and it's easier for you to see where my cursor is going. And if I'm pointing to certain things, it's so much easier for you to see it. I started using it for preference, and then I decided that I really liked it, and have had a lot of people say how it's a lot easier to see your screen. And also, I keep my bottom part disabled, and then I keep my top in dark, you can see where I'm going. It's much easier to follow. So I'm also gonna just kind of, guys, I just realized I was like on 80, which is okay for me, but Kristen, you didn't lean in yet. I was kind of So, all right, so that's the basic layout. And then down the side, you have a few things. Now, if you have a brand new Google Keep, you do not have anywhere near like these little labels. All of these little labels work like Gmail labels, and they're created by me, okay? So I have lots of them, but you'll have notes, and then when I click notes, it's all of these. The little bell is a reminder. So if I have any little reminders set up, so you see I have one right here, right? It's really funny. It says fired. This means that this one is done, I guess. I've never seen the word fired in there, which is weird. But basically, I can put a timer on it. It's very much like your Google Calendar notifications. I can set a reminder in Google Keep, and it'll do a little pop-up, which I kind of like. So if in the perfect world, I would have done Google Calendar first. But Google Keep and Google Calendar are very aligned in some ways. So then you'll have labels, and then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my labels because, girl, I got tons. And then I'm going to come down here. You can edit labels. So when I click on edit labels, you can see that I can create a new one. Now, this looks a lot like the pop-up for YouTube. If you've ever created a playlist within YouTube, this looks very much like it. Create a playlist, or in your Gmail, you create a new label, same exact thing. So I can make a new one, or I can just look to see what's in here. Like if I have one and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want that. Like, let's take this to-do one right here. I'm going to edit this. I could remove it, or I could just add to it, right? And I'm going to do to-do now, because it probably is a to-do now. And I'm going to see, I don't know, can I put a star on it? I can. I put a star on it. Does it do what I want it to do? It does. It moves it all the way to the top, right? So like in my Google, in my Drive account, I can have my most popular ones on the top that I use by using that an icon will force it to the top. The next thing down here, you can archive, like Gmail. You can archive your notes and it puts them out of the way, does not get rid of them. Remember, it's the file cabinet around the corner. You still have them, you still have access to them. You can still search for them. It just moves them off your main screen, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. You can customize, and I mean, you can throw them away, obviously, and then you can also customize your categories. So customizing categories is what I have right here. And this is an extra piece. Right now, my brain just went on a total vacation. I can't remember what they're called. There's a name for these. Hold on. You probably can do it in there. I use an add-on to do that. But so you'll notice what I did, the customizing of the categories, they're really all the colors that you have available to yourself. So when we take a note, I'll show you what that means. But what I did is I labeled them, and I have this list across the top so I can see what they are. So it just makes it easier for me to know what they are. So I know that this note right here is a model schools note. This is a Google note. This is a tech integration note. So that's just super helpful for me because I like know what they are and I can color coordinate as I go. All right, so let's take a note. Let's just see where I am. Okay, menu bar, sidebar, created notes, perfect. So I did all though. I'm just making sure that I'm actually doing what I should be doing. I am, okay, good, creating a note. I've done this training a lot, so I tend to not look at my notes anymore, right? And I wanna make sure I do it the right way. So I wanna take a note. Okay, so I'm gonna click on take a note and I'm gonna give it a title. So I'm going to make a to-do list because I have a to-do list today. It's right here on a piece of paper, right? You know me, God knows I don't need any more paper on my desk, but this is a good way for me to kind of do one of these today. So I'm going to take a note. I need to do, so it's going to be Thursday, 3/4, and I'm going to actually make it my, like, I don't have to really put a color on it. Oh yeah, I have a to-do list. Look at that. I have a to-do list. It's green, right? So I just grabbed that color right there. All I did was click on the palette. Palette looks just like, this looks like forms. So when you have kind of been your way through all the pieces, it starts to make sense because all the parts start to play together nicely. And we're like, ah, that makes sense. So I'm going to take a note. And I'm going to say mileage to Albany. Oh, nice typing. Mileage, send to Albany. I have to do that today. And I got to do my mileage, print, sign, scan. I ready to NCCS. Oh no, NCCS. Okay, wouldn't it be great if I actually had like those little check boxes? So, well, Virginia, there's got to be a way to do that, right? Well, of course there is. If I come over here and I hit the 3 dots, so the snowman, okay, I'm done with snow, just so everybody knows. So it's officially become a traffic light. I can show check boxes. So I'm going to show those check boxes and see what happens. So now I have little check boxes, which is fantastic. Okay, I need to make a sign for the door. I need to set up the microwave. Okay, because this is like real life stuff because I need to heat my dinner at lunchtime. Sign-in sheets from BP, sign-in info into closet. Okay, it's a weird thing. That sounds really strange, but I know what that means. All right, so there's my to-do list, which I kind of love. Oh my gosh, I cannot type. I'm so glad you guys are not judgmental on my typing skills because they are poor. All right, so there's my list, which is great, right? So simple. I can add a reminder. You can see the little bell across the bottom. So let's say that I'm going to give myself a reminder today. See my options later today, tomorrow, next week, homework. So I'm going to do later today. I'm going to do a check-in of 8 p.m. I'm going to do a check-in of these items at 1 o'clock and to make sure I've gotten them done. All right, so that's all done. And I can also make it repeat. So what's really nice is I don't have to push this to my calendar. I can just do it all in the same place so it exists. Yeah, but I don't have to do this. I'm not going to repeat it. That's definitely not something I want. Oh, and then a colors down. I could add a collaborator. So I'll just, be the street person and I'll add myself in as a collaborator. So my NARIC account, I'll save it. That's going to send an email to myself and said, hey, kvirginiabond@gmail.com just shared a note with you. Okay, this is a nice way to create a to-do list with your friends or your colleagues to get items done. It's also a great way to create a big task. So Donna, I am sure that you have some larger tasks that have to be done. It's a great way for you to kind of create a larger task, put it in and move it around, and then you can actually move these things around too. So you can make the whole list, then you can put them in the order they have to be done. Kristen, for your kids, it's a great way to create a to-do list that kind of chunks up pieces into smaller amounts, and they can add you as a collaborator, or you can make the list, you can make it, and you can add the student as a collaborator. So you can take a long task and divide it up into multiple chunks, put it on different notes, and it's much more palatable for a student. You can color code it. And for what I've seen some teachers do is they use the red, yellow, blue, green. So it's like the progression through. So you start here, go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. Super helpful. I've also seen TAs use this or one-on-one monitors when they can't go into class with a student because they get pulled somewhere else, because we all know that's reality and that really does happen. So they open up a Google Keep and the student can text to them or can type in that area during a session, and the teacher or TA or monitor can respond right back into that. It's a great way. It's also a great way to put reoccurring tasks that a student may have to do. So that's another good way to use it. I can add a picture. So let's add an image. So you'll see that as soon as I clicked add an image, it's taking me to hey, where do you want to go? And we're just going to go click this one, right? Oh, and it just pops a little image right up on the top of it. That's kind of cool. It's pretty simple. I also can throw them away if I want to. It's all good. I can archive it. Don't need to archive this one because I'm going to do that in a minute. My traffic light gives me more options. I can delete the note. I don't want to delete this one because I need it. I just started it. I can add a label. Yep. So this is where my labels come in. And the labels and archives go together. So I'm going to add a label to this one, and I'm going to call it to do now, right? Because it's my to do now list that I want to do. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to pull that back up here one more time, and I'm going to look at that list, what else is in there. I can change the labels. I also, which is really kind of cool, I can change the labels, and I can have more than one label on things. So this is very much like Google Mail as well. I can have one piece of paper that I make multiple copies that I can put in multiple folders. I love that. That's a huge feature, and I'll show you why in a minute, because I can place things in different locations, but it's a copy of it. What else can I do in here? I can make a copy. So for example, Kristen, you're working with your students. You have two students that are very similar. You make one long list for them. Then you can make a copy and add the student in it as a collab each one and change the color for each one, right? So one could be Susie's and one could be Bobby's, and then they have a checklist. You don't have to type the same list twice. You can just make a copy of the list. Hugely benefit. You can hide the check boxes, and this copy to Google Docs I'm going to show you in a little bit. So I'm going to close it. Now, you'll notice that these are pinned up here, right? So these are pinned ones. I'm going to pin this one. What it's going to do, it's going to pop right to the top. So these are the ones I'm using all the time. So can I unpin them? I sure can. I'm going to unpin these two so they go away. Okay, great. So I have at 9 o'clock, I have a tech coming to install a printer. So he asked me to put in the driver. Well, I sure did try. But let me tell you, when I got to the spot where the driver was, there was 12 drivers. So I did this right before you guys got here. So instead of me closing it, bookmarking, and trying to find it again, all I did was add it to Google Keep. And then and I pinned it. So when he comes back, I'm just going to click on that, open the page. When he's done installing my printer, I'm going to delete the note. So then it's gone. I don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't need to post it. I don't need anything else. Here's a note that I use right now. It has my model schools offerings in it. So I do keep this like running list of all the courses I offer. So I left this one just like this because what I can do is I can check these all off, right? I have done all of these. And what they do is they fall off my list. And I don't know about you, but for me, that is super gratifying. It's the equivalent of having a piece of paper and I get to shred it. I'm a shredder. I think that's why I like paper still. That's very satisfying for me to be able to do that and to kind of move it along. So you can totally, you know, check things off as they go. So now let's talk about my labels. So let's come down. I'm going to come down just a little. And you'll notice I have some Bitmojis in here. I use this with my Bitmoji training the other day. I use Google Keep and Bitmoji together. So I'm going to keep these Bitmojis because they may be things I want, but I don't need to see them here on my main board. So what I can do is I can come in, go near the note, and I'm going to click the down arrow, which is the archive. And I'm going to archive them, and they just disappear. And then, you know, everybody starts to have a little heart failure because we've lost what we were looking for. And it is really not. And they're like, oh, sweet mother of pearls, where did they go? Well, this is where the labels come in helpful. Because what they do is they archive to the label. So they go into the Bitmoji label. So here are all my Bitmojis that I have saved over the time. Now, why in the world would I do this besides we get to see my hairstyles change as my hair gets longer? Why do I do this? Because there are some districts when I go in, I can't get to Bitmoji because they have it blocked. But they can't block my Google Keep. Gosh, no, sorry, you saw my, we'll move out of there. Right? You can't always get to it, but using this, I always have access to them. So I can pull them up through my Google Keep. So that's just kind of it's a little trick. So what I love about this is I have things like articles to read. So I have a space for all my articles to read. Okay, so how do I kind of do this on the fly? So I use the Google Keep extension. I'm going to go out into the real world and I'm going to go to Edutopia because I go there a lot and I read and I hope to goodness I take that the right way. Of course I didn't. Oh, it's not that. Well, already then, Virginia, that's not where I want to go. Let's say, okay, let's just go to CNN. Gosh knows I don't really want to go there, but I will. All right, so CNN. So let's say I'm on CNN and I'm a social studies teacher. Katrina, this works well for you. And I see an article that I'm like, ooh, I really want to share that with my kids. So I want to, but I want to find it later on. So the problem with CNN is CNN, really any news agency, is that the main breaking news disappears quickly. So you can't always find it. So I have the Google Keep extension installed right here. It's called Save to Keep, and the link is in the presentation. So let's say I see, I'm just going to pick one here. Okay, so maybe this isn't social studies, sorry. This may be more of something for an earth science teacher. It says, oh, this is kind of cool, right? Iceland, one of my good friends lives in Africa, and she said they just felt their first earthquake a while ago. So maybe this is an article I want to share with my kids, but I don't need it today. I don't really need it for a while. So what am I going to do? I need to find a way to save it. I'm going to come to Google Keep. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to take a little shortcut. It's going to keep the video. Now, if I had a label that said Earth Science, I could put it in there. What I'm going to put it in is articles to read right now, and I'm going to save it. So then when I come back out to my Google Keep, you will notice right here, I have Iceland volcanic eruptions. So it already pushes it right there with this label attached to it. Now, when I'm using the extension, I can only add one label. When I come back to Google Keep, I could put multiple labels on it. I can edit my labels. It'll say change labels, and you'll notice that I can put in more. I can add more to it, right? It's not making copies. But when I do that and then I archive it, that would go into multiple locations. So let me change it. I'm going to do apps and extensions, articles to read, and then I'm going to archive it. Then when I go into my labels on the side, which is my archived boards, you'll see there's one of them and there's the other of them. It puts it in both locations, which is just a great way to do that. I love that fact. It's simple, and you'll see that I have lots of them. And the reason I started to do this was because I would be out researching something on makerspaces, and I would find something on Google. So, and I would be like, oh, I really need to do that. So, I'd be creating bookmarks that look like this. I don't know if your bookmarks look like this, but my bookmarks look like this. And then, like I have folders of my bookmarks. So this is just a better way for me to organize. And for me, it's very Pinterest-like. That's what it makes me think of. Every time I look at this, it's like Pinterest board in nature. And it just helps me kind of put my things all together. So somebody was asking me the other day for information about choice boards. And I know I have these two really good articles about choice boards. And I put them together here. So when somebody asks me for that, I go to my Keep, I find it, and then I can push them this article. Because there's no way in my brain I would remember that that is AJ Giuliani. It would not happen, right? So it's just help. That's a way for me to organize myself. So this is about curation, curating what we can do. So what are some of the other things that you can do in a note? A few other really cool things that I can do is I can come up here and I can add a drawing. Now, if you happen to be coming to my afternoon session today, which is yesterday's afternoon session, not all of you are, it's about drawing with Google tools, and one of them is Google Keep, because we can very quickly teach our students how to draw with Google tools. Now, I am just using a mouse. I am not using anything special. I am not using a stylus, right? But I have the ability to draw like this, which is kind of cool. Pretty free, open-handed, nothing major. I also have rules. I have squares, so you could graph on here. I have dots. I have an eraser. I have no shapes. This is what I call the gateway drug for drawing, because it's the lowest of the drawing tools, but it's pretty simple. So what happens, I can push this back out. I'm going to take this so it just goes blank. I have none. I'm going to actually make it so it actually looks like something we can use, right? But this is supposed to be a flower, but I know none of you would judge me for my lack of drawing skills with my, right? It's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. But I have the ability to draw pretty quickly. Oh, green clouds. That sounds good. Dr. Seuss was just in the house. I just had some students do this in a class, and I said, this is a great tool for kids to learn how to draw on a Dr. Seuss day. So we come back out, and you'll notice that my drawing feeds right into my Google Keep. So note, to those of you who have Chromebooks and they have styluses, so my Chromebook has a stylus, so it will go into tablet mode. The default app for a Chromebook with a stylus is Google Keep. So if a student opens up the app, opens up the Chromebook, folds it back, takes out the stylus, it is saving in Google Keep. All right, that's a good thing to know. So, because then you can push all that stuff into somewhere else. So I'm just going to give this, I'm going to call this flower. What's a good way to use this with students? So a good way to use this with students is really that we could allow students to draw, and then they could type about what they know. So little people, this is kind of fabulous for them, because the thought process for our little, like our K2ers, Kristen kind of falls where you are, right? Our kids can do some drawing, and then mom and dad or teacher can write about it, or they can type about what the students say, because that's what we would do in a classroom. We would have them draw the pictures, and then we would type out what they would say. So that's a great use. So, okay, that's all good, but that doesn't really help me. it kind of does. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to come here and I'm going to actually make a new note. So I'm just a new slide and I'm going to click over here in the sidebar where Google Keep sits. And all my keeps are going to load into this page. I'm going to scroll down a little because these are my pinned notes. And see, that's the picture I just drew. And I am going to add to my slide. And there's my picture that I just created with my students. So look, isn't that cool? I mean, that's a really nice feature because students can do it here and then they can bring it into a slide presentation. They also can bring it into a doc. So, which is also really cool. So they can come in, they can pull information like that. Do the same thing. I'm going to come over to the sidebar. As soon as this loads up, yada, yada, yada. Boy, it's slow today. I was having a thinking process problem. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There's my picture. I'm going to insert it in. I'm going to add to document. And there's my picture. And there's my text. So that was pretty simple. But you could have students go in and they could draw a flower and they could label all the parts. See, I just drew a simple flower. Or you could draw a flower. You could have them label the parts, right? So I think it's a really good way for them to kind of learn how to use a drawing tool. And like I said, this is a gateway into drawing. So what else can I do in these bad boys, right? What are some of the other options that sit in this note? Excuse me. So I'm going to come down here. Right? What else could I do in here? What are my other pieces? Like the drawing, the make a copy, the check. Ooh, we can also grab, if there was text in this image, I'd be able to grab it, which is really kind of cool. I think probably my favorite thing is this, is my phone. So I'm going to just scroll down a little bit and I'm going to open up Google Keep on my phone and I'm going to take a picture of us together. And you're like, you're going to what? I'm going to take a picture of us together. I'm going to make a new note. No, I'm going to go back. Virginia's going to try to figure out how to go to Canada. So I'm going to take a photo. I made a new note. I'm going to take a photo. I'm going to turn it this way. I can see you guys. I'm going to stick my head in there. Right? So I just took that really cheesy picture. Boy, that is cheesy. With my drugs underneath my screen. That looks great, Virginia. All right. So then I'm going to hit this refresh screen right here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit this refresh. Ooh, you saw that what it just did. Everything kind of did a little wiggle and a move. There it is. So teachers, actually anybody, a picture that you load into Google Keep does not get stored in your photos on your phone. So let me say that one more time because that's almost a game changer for classroom teachers. If you take a photo in Google Keep, it's not stored in your phone storage. So those of us that do anything with our kids, say anything with adults, and you don't want kids' pictures or kids' work on your phone, if you use Google Keep to do it, it doesn't show up on your phone. So it's not saved on your personal device. You could use your personal device, it's just not saved to it. So that's the first thing it'll do. Let's do the next thing it'll do. This is kind of my other favorite thing that it will do. I'm going to title this March 4th. I'm typing on my note. And on your note, like on here, there's like a little microphone down at the bottom. There's a little microphone down at the bottom. Oh, and I'm going to do it again. I probably should have put that into the note section. That's going to be a little weird. It's going to be through, period. I love this part of Google Keep because it's speech to text, period. And I'm just going to remind us that our reluctant writers are typically not reluctant. It's going to come right up in here. You'll see the little refresh button is doing its work. It says, hey, see what happened? So everything I spoke just came to this note. I don't know about you, but there are times that I talk well, you guys know this because you've been here following me for a while. I speak a lot faster than I can type. This is a huge game changer for me. My daughter actually was the one who used this tool before me because she spoke her senior thesis at college into Google Keep and then put it into a doc and then moved it over to Microsoft Word. So talk about a kid using the tools at your hand, right? She was on a bus all the time because she was an athlete. She was a college runner, so they were on a bus or a plane every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So she would take, if she was on a bus, she did her work on the bus always. She never slept. But she said it was hard to type, so she just learned how to speak it in and started to do it like that, and just it's a very simple tool. So how about for administrators? So administrators can go out in the hall, they can see something that needs to be fixed, they can take a picture of it, and they can just automatically add a collaborator for whoever it has to go to, and then just write a little note on that. Hey, can you make sure you fix that leak in the ceiling over there? Or, just some simple, or take pictures of student work. And when you get back to your office, it's going to be sitting at your desk. You no longer have to take the picture on your phone and email it to yourself and push it all around. Now it's much easier to get that content around. So I love Google Keep for that because the ease of using it is simple. So how did I start using it? So this is where like family comes in. And I think it's a great way to use it on your own so this is what I still do. Okay, so we always shop on Saturdays. So it's called the shopping list, right? How many people need a shopping list? But you make the shopping list and you forget the shopping list, right? How about you make it, right? You make it, you forget it, and you're like, great, what the heck was on that list? I don't remember. So I make a shopping list like this. So, and it typically is like, okay, so, and I always put check boxes in because it's just easier when I'm going. I know this is the human part. I know I'm going to need almond milk, right? That's always a given, not almond mild. I am going to need face wipes. Okay, so because we go to Walmart when we go, that's definitely another one. We're going to need cat food. I'm going to need yogurt, and I'm going to look for sale. Right. So, all right. So my husband typically through the week as we need items, he'll send me a list, and he usually texts it. That's hard to say. Texts it to me, and I will add it to the list. Now, we typically shop early Saturday morning. We just get up early. We tend to go to Walmart at 6 o'clock in the morning because there's no one else around to get it done. And I love it because there's nobody else around. So we get the shopping all done. But there's times he'll be like, hey, I got done work early on Friday. I'll go. Well, that's a problem if I have the list. So what I can do is I can add him as a collaborator to the list, and I can email it to him. He gets an email, and then he just goes through and buys everything on the list. It's awesome. I love it. And it's such a great feature. I love the fact that I can create like a to-do list with my colleagues. So Kristen, who was just in here a little while ago, and I are going to do a training called 30/30. It's called 30 Ed Tech Nuggets in 30 minutes. So we have 1 minute each. So we're making a list of the 30 of them, and I have my list kind of started. So I'm going to put them into a Google Keep, and we're going to have it all in there. And then at the end, we're going to put the things that we have to do to get prepared for the session. It's a good way for us to do it. And what we can do is as we do them, we can just cross them off like this, and we'll know when it's done. That's a nice, simple way to use it. Another fun thing that it's fun, but it's practical. You can like duplicate this list. I can come into this list right here. I can make a copy. So if you know you're going to use like a to-do list for every day, which I have seen some people do, they have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday list. They make 5 of them. They go through and they put them together, and they have like their same tasks that they do every day to have in there. And that's great. So if you have certain things you have to do on a Monday, like I know for me, every morning I come in, I have to go into Frontline, and I have like 2 things I have to do. And then I check my email. Those are like my first 3 tasks of the day, no matter what. If I come in 20 minutes early or 20 minutes late, it's always the first 3 things I do. I have them in my head, but that's a good thing for students, a student list. Or something pops up. So, you know, this morning, perfect example. I left here at like 4:15 yesterday, and from here to my house, which is 2 miles that way, I had an email from a district that needed me to do something. Well, of course, what I had done for the first, I don't leave my laptop in the office very often, but I did. But I saw it in my email. So if I'd had a Google Keep open, I could have come in and just put that on my Thursday to-do list right at the top and say, you know, reach out to people in town first thing. So, you know, it's a way to just keep yourself a little bit more organized. I love the concept of a Post-it that I can share with a person, push out a different color to them in a very easy manner. Now I'm actually going to go look at my notes and make sure I got everything right. I think I did. I'm just going to, yeah, notes. I think that's actually done. Yeah. All right. So we did adding a picture of these. Some of these are just a little different. It looks a little different than it has in the past, but they're all pretty similar. You'll see what I've gone through, and I've done some of these other pieces so you can see the parts that are in there. I've tried to make it very simple. I'm also trying to stay in my time limit. I think I'm good. There's lots of resources in here. Here's some great ideas of how to use it in a very simple manner. And then what I also put in here on slide 36 is I'm doing a training on the 10th, what's called Improving Research Skills with Google Keep. So if you're interested in ways to like use the extension in new and interesting ways to teach research to your students, I can literally chop research time for any project in about in half using the Google Keep extension. All right, questions? Any questions? It's quick and easy, and I'm like done on time. Woo! All right, I'm gonna stop recording, and I'm also gonna stop sharing. Stop recording. I'll stop sharing first, and then I'll stop recording. All right, so